Great. We're going to work through an exam style question where you're asked to convert between two different units of concentration. So this question is asking, what's the mass percentage of a 0.944 molar? So remember that capital M is for molarity, aqueous glucose solution. So we're expected to find the mass percentage of glucose in this water solution. And we're given the density as well as the molar masses of water and glucose. This is a numerical question, and so um, you're going to type in your answer to the whole number without the percentage sign. And since it's a numerical question, I'm going to recommend that you double check your calculations because you don't have that feedback from a multiple choice question where it's like, hey, I see my answer. I bet I got it right. Um, Here you are just putting in whatever you got, so make sure you punch those numbers in a couple times. All right, how I like to start these questions, I like to start by just writing down what does mass percentage equal. So this is what I want to calculate. So to calculate mass percentage, I need to know the mass of glucose put into this solution, and I need to know the total mass of the solution. Okay, so that's what I need to answer this question. Okay, and then I say, well, what am I given? How can I get to those two pieces of information from what I have? All right, so I know that I have a 0.944 molar solution. So let's break down what that means. So 0.944 molar solution. Okay, and this is where I recommend just selecting an arbitrary amount, right? I don't know how much of the solution I have. It doesn't matter because if I have 1 liter or I have 10 liters or 1 milliliter, the concentration is always going to be 0.944. Okay, so like it doesn't matter. I'm going to say that we have 1 liter of it because that makes the next step much simpler, right? If I had 1 liter of this solution, that must mean that I have 0.944 moles of glucose. All right, so now I have my roadmap to get myself from the information I'm given to the information I need. I have moles of glucose in this solution. I need grams, right? I need the mass of glucose. So I'm going to convert moles of glucose to grams of glucose. And I do that using the molar mass that was provided. So 0.944 moles of glucose. All right, and we're given 180.2 grams per mole. And that was 170.1 grams of glucose. All right. And so that's how many grams went into this 1 liter of solution. Okay. So that's what's going to go up here. So we've just solved for this top part, 170.1 grams. Okay. And then I need to know the total mass of the solution. So you could come at this from two different directions. You could say, well, I now know the mass of glucose that was added. Now I just could somehow calculate the mass of water that was in the solution. Sometimes you'll have to go it that way and then sum the two. But in this case, since we have the density of the solution, I can just say, well, if I have, and again, remember, this is all predicated on the idea that I was doing this in 1 liter. So I can say, well, 1 liter of solution, and I have a specific density for this, right? There it is. So 1 liter, I'll convert it to milliliters first. Okay, so that's 1,000 mils. And then I know that every 1 mil weighs 1.07 grams, right? From the information in the question. So that whole liter of solution weighs 1,070 grams. So that's my mass of solution. And that's what's going to go into my denominator here. Okay, so 1070 grams. Okay, total mass of the solution. Note here, we could figure out how much water we added by saying, well, 170 minus, sorry, God, I don't know how I made these numbers so similar. 1,070 grams minus 170 grams would give you the mass of water. Maybe we need that for some reason, maybe not. I'm just pointing out that you can take this information and get something else out of it if you wanted to. So I can say now I'm just going to multiply that by 100%. Okay. Because we're going to work in percentages. So make sure that you don't get an answer between 0 and 1. That would be the mass fraction. We want the mass percentage. And so when you go through and do this, you wind up getting 15.9%. The question is asking you for a whole number, so that's going to be 16%. All right, so not too bad of math. I think the most important thing to do is to get your roadmap set up. What values are you looking for? Like, what is the definition of this concentration? What two things do you need to know? And then figuring out the road from like, hey, this is what I was given. How do I get over to those things that I need to calculate this new concentration unit?